This morning, the signs were favourable, the weather perfect as the 6 crew members watched their access platform pulling away for the final time. Each lost takeoff costs NASA $300,000 in fuel. So once again, mission controllers held their breath as the launch director counted away the final seconds.
12 seconds. T-minus 10. Go for engine start. T-minus 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. We have liftoff. Liftoff of Columbia and mission 61C.
This successful launch was one of the most spectacular. The spacecraft climbing into the dawn sky at 5,000 feet a second, leaving a trailing stream of white-hot flame behind.
Roger, roll, Columbia.
Later this month, we should see the first teacher in space, and in the summer, Britain's Nigel Wood is scheduled to become our first astronaut. This morning, the pictures were so clear that you could see the spacecraft separating from its giant rocket. After its troubled start, Columbia was on its way, a 5-day journey in space ahead. Ken Reese, ITN, Washington.
American astronauts are at long last getting down to their scientific work on what's being called Mission Impossible. The shuttle blasted off yesterday after a record 7 delays. And as Newsrounds space editor Reg Turnhill reports, it wasn't until the 5th time the crew had boarded the shuttle that they actually took off.
The crew produced a clapperboard for this last attempt.
Take 5. We have ignition. We have liftoff.
And this time, the reluctant Columbia climbed safely into orbit. Nearly a month late, the crew lost no time getting down to work. Steve Hawley's job is to take pictures of Halley's Comet for just 4 minutes on each orbit. This picture from Australia shows what it looks like now. And this time there was only one TV satellite to launch before the experiments began. They're in dustbin-like containers and range from crystals for cancer research to... But Steve Hawley's just reported that after all the delays, his camera batteries have gone flat. We don't know yet whether it's possible to change them.
May return to Earth a day early from its 5-day mission because there have been problems with some of its equipment. NASA officials will decide this evening whether Columbia should return on Thursday to make sure it's ready for its next mission in March. The crew were planning to take detailed pictures of Halley's Comet using a special camera, but as we reported on Newsround yesterday, the astronauts found the camera's batteries were flat. The crew told Mission Control that they weren't able to repair the special camera, but they'd taken some pictures using an ordinary one. If they come out, these photographs will be the first of Halley's Comet taken from space. But in the payload bay, one of the crew's scientific experiments might not work, as the lid of one of the containers has jammed open. Because this mission isn't going completely to plan, NASA may bring Columbia back early to make sure that all the planned 15 shuttle missions are launched this year. Meanwhile, Friday's launch of the European rocket, Ariane, has been postponed for the 3rd time. Like the shuttle, it's had technical problems. It's now due to be launched in February.
Yesterday, the shuttle's crew was told that their mission was to be cut short and they'd be returning today. But there was a sudden change in Florida's weather. Newsround space editor Reg Turnhill has the details.
Only 19 minutes before he was due to fire his retro rockets, Columbia's commander was told to stay in orbit for at least another day. Just as rain delayed Columbia's liftoff, so it's held up re-entry, for rain can damage the delicate tiles. And no one wants a repeat of the last landing at the Cape, when Discovery came to a stop with damaged brakes and burst tires. Columbia must be ready on time for her next flight in March, or she'll miss the chance to study Halley's Comet. Meanwhile, Challenger is due to be launched in only 8 days' time. The crew will then include the first teacher in space. Krista McAuliffe will turn Challenger into a classroom, giving live lessons on how to fly the shuttle and what it's like living in space.
And finally tonight, scientists working in America managed to create a tiny star which shone for just a split second. They used lasers concentrated on a spot the size of a pinprick to make the same temperature as that at the center of a real star. It's an incredible 15 million degrees Celsius. So the scientists had to use 100 trillion watts of power, and their tiny, bright star lasted for just 1/1000th of a second. Hardly time to twinkle. And that's all today. Don't forget Newsround Extra tomorrow. Details of that programme. For now, bye-bye.